We've been sending notices to the Vice President, to the respondent, and as a matter of fact, even after every resource person, we are calling the Vice President to check if she is present so we can cater the opportunity to be heard that you are mentioning.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Garbin is recognized.
Thank you, Madam. Just a few questions to the representatives of the Ombudsman. Kayo ho'y nagpresenta ng SALN and what was presented by your office. Are those SALNs under your custody and the entries, the official entries in those SALN? Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
But that entries does not say whether there is a misdeclaration, untruthful declaration, or willful non-disclosure that will lead to unexplained wealth. Tama po ba?
Your Honor, binasa ko lang po kung ano yung, at kinonfirm ko lang po kung ano yung nakalagay sa SALN.
Honorable Garbin, I'm afraid but we are not allowed to raise questions which will go beyond what appears in the SALN.
That's why, Madam Chair, I just need confirmation whether that
Yes.
presentation
Issues concerning
yields to
misdeclaration.
yields in support to the complainants. First of all, Madam Chair, wala yung complainant dito eh.
I understand, but please limit your questions to
And that's why I
the
want to ask
contents of the
sana yung
affidavit.
complainant
Contents of the
as
SALNs.
to his allegation, because it was pointed out that the SALN was only part of a broader allegations of unexplained wealth. But as correctly pointed out by Mr. Marcoleta or Congressman Marcoleta, those SALN that was, or that we want to specifically pinpoint that have material misdeclaration or untruthful declaration was never attached in the first place
We are
in the
not
complaint.
yet on that, Honorable Garbin.
We
We are
were
only
through,
on the
we were
existence of the
through,
SALNs.
we were already through on that. We already approved, voted on the ultimate facts and the sufficiency in substance. And the annexes provided in the complaint, Madam Chair. So what we have here is an improvement of the complaint, of the complainant's evidence. Tayo yung nagpuproduce ng ebidensya eh, which is not supposed to be the case.
With all due respect, Honorable Garbin, the issuance of the subpoena is not for the purpose of adding, supplementing, or correcting whatever appears in the complaint. The purpose of the issuance of subpoena is to test whether the complaint is sufficient already for the existence of probable cause. To
But,
aid the justice members in judging whether or not probable cause exists on the basis of the allegations in the complaint, including the attached documents.
If I may, Madam Chair.
The Honorable Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, let me walk you through Section 7 of our Rules of Procedure in Impeachment Proceedings. Sabi po dito, the committee shall conduct a hearing. The committee, through the chairperson, may limit the period of examination by members of the committee. The committee shall have the power to issue compulsory processes for the attendance of witnesses and the production of documents and other related evidence. So, yun po yung ginagawa po natin dito. This SALN, ito pong SALN na to ay pumapasok po dito po sa power ng committee. Hindi naman po tayo ang nagsasabi niyan. Ang nagsasabi po niyan ay ang ating rules. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Before we proceed,
Madam
I just
Chair.
want to state for the record, Honorable De Lima, that the committee is already in receipt of the notices of disallowance referred to by Attorney Camora of ICFAO COA during the April 14 hearing. This pertains to the disallowances of the first 3 quarters of the OVP Confidential Fund of 2023, the first, the second, and the third. The total amount of these notices of disallowances is 375 million pesos. So the COMSEC is directed to provide copy of this notices of disallowance to the Vice President, the complainant, and all the members of the Justice Committee. The same is true with respect to the decision referred to as well by Attorney Camora of ICFAO COA. This is to prove that the appeal pertaining to the last quarter of 2022 confidential fund of OVP has been denied, which means that the notice of disallowance for the last quarter of 2022 was affirmed by the Commission on Audit. Likewise, the Committee Secretariat is directed to provide copy of the same to the Vice President, the complainants, and all the Justice members. Honorable De Lima is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wish to put forth additional counter-arguments on the points raised by the Honorable Marcoleta and also certain points raised by the Honorable Garbin. Okay. First, we have determined already sufficiency in substance of the complaints. Sufficiency in substance, both in form and substance, and that includes the annexes. Pangalawa po, hindi po required na lahat ng mga pwedeng ebidensya ay dapat na produce na ng complainants at the time of the filing of the complaint. And that's why we have these processes of subpoena para makalakap ng mga ebidensya na nakasabi sa complaint tsaka yung mga related evidence. Ang importante po dito, especially in the issuance of subpoena, yung requirements of specificity or sufficiently described yung mga dokumento na pinapaproduce at yung relevance to the issue. Wala pong duda dun sa mga subpoena po natin ng production for the production of specific documents like respondent SAL-Ns, the AMLAC records of the flagged bank transactions of the respondent, the records of her corporate holdings, records of her financial transactions. These are all relevant to the grounds alleged in the complaint. They directly relate to the issues actually and specifically raised in the 3rd and 4th impeachment complaints, the Sabalia et al. And Cabrera complaints, particularly that respondent purportedly engaged in culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, bribery, including the accumulation of unexplained and or ill-gotten wealth, and her ownership of secret bank accounts worth millions, if not billions of pesos, all of which she did not declare in her SAL-Ns. Doon sa punto na ini-improve daw po natin, actually there's nothing wrong about that, improving the evidence that are sought to be presented by the complainants, kasi tayo nga po ang magiging prosecutors later, and we are determining at this point the existence of probable cause, and therefore we need the guidance of any other relevant evidence para makarating po sa determinasyon na yan ng existence of probable cause. We develop, we improve, we ask for other additional evidence as long as they are relevant to the issue or issues as alleged in the complaints. So wala pong mga linalabag dito na mga principles pagdating po sa tungkol doon sa kailangan ba na linalagay lahat o pinipresenta na lahat sa complaint pa lang? So malinaw po yan, Madam Chair, hindi po kailangan. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Chel Jokno is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Wala naman pong pinagkaiba ang ginagawa ng Committee on Justice dun sa ginagawa ng isang prosecutor na nagko-conduct ng preliminary investigation. Just like a prosecutor under the rules of the House, we have the power to issue subpoena to determine what used to be called probable cause, although what is now called certainty of conviction. And para sa akin, mas mahalaga pa nga yung tungkulin natin na yon dahil wala pa naman po tayo sa adversarial stage we are very clearly in the inquisitorial stage where we are meant to inquire whether there is sufficient probable cause. Kaya po tayo binigyan ng ngipin ng House Rules para makapagsabpina ay para nga makita ang ebidensya. And I'm very disappointed at any attempts to remove that power from us, because that is precisely why the Constitution requires that we conduct a hearing. Yung hearing naman natin, hindi para marinig natin yung salita ng iba't ibang mga nandito ngayon, kung hindi makita mismo yung ebidensya. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Madam
Madam
Chair.
Chair. My
The
last
Honorable
manifestation.
Garbin.
Madam Chair.
At the outset, Madam Chair, let me state that I am for the truth and for knowing whether there's material or misdeclaration on the SALN. What I'm saying here, the observance of procedural due process. Going back to the complaint, as stated, this specific SALN were not attached. And when you say observance of procedural due process, ang tinatawag po doon, paano makakapagsagot yung isang respondent kung wala naman specific allegations doon sa mga iprinisintang SALN? We agree that we have compulsory processes to produce those documents relevant to this hearing, but the absence of giving opportunity to the respondent the right to be heard or to answer, and those specific allegations, it's not even a specific allegation because it was part of a broader allegations of unexplained wealth. Ako po ay isang abogado bago mambabatas. Ako po ay dumaan din sa napakaraming preliminary investigation. And kung magpipresenta tayo dito ng dokumento na hindi natin bibigyan ng oportunidad yung inaakusahan dito, then where is the procedural due process? That's why I'm saying, are we
Honorable
improving
Garbin.
the complaint? Or
Honorable
it is
Garbin.
better left to the impeachment court to present all these documents so that the respondent will also have the right to confront those evidence presented against her,
Notice is being given to her.
and the right also to examine those specific SALN that allege misdeclarations of unexplained wealth.
Honorable Garbin, I just want to state for the record that since the start of the presentation of witnesses and evidence, we've been sending notices to the Vice President, to the respondent, and as a matter of fact, even after every resource person, we are calling the Vice President to check if she is present so we can cater the opportunity to be heard that you are mentioning. Honorable Garbin, in as far as due process is concerned, I honestly believe that this committee has been amply complying in providing the same to the respondent Vice President. And let us all be reminded that this issue raised by the Honorable Garbin is already pending before the Supreme Court. So with the indulgence of the justice members, perhaps we should leave this to the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court. With that, can we proceed to the presentation of our resource persons?
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Tino.
may I ask some clarificatory questions regarding from the Ombudsman?
The Ombudsman.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Could we have the summary table of the SALN of the VP?
Can we
on
flash again the
screen?
matrix? You need the matrix?
Opo.
Kindly flash the matrix, Secretariat.
All right, thank you po. Just to confirm lang po sa ombudsman, napansin ko lang po kasi na yung declaration or statement of assets, both real assets and personal assets for the years 2019 and 2020 are exactly the same. Tama po ba yan? Hindi naman kaya baka nagkamali lang nung cut and paste. Is that correct?
2019 and 2020.
Yes, is that correct? 2019, the real assets are 300 39,798,891, and that is the exact same figure for 2020. Tama po ba? And then for personal assets, the figure is 19,274,950 for both 2019 and 2020. Tama po yun?
Your Honor, based on the 2019 and 2020 SALNs submitted by the Vice President to the Office of the Ombudsman, we can confirm that
Exactly the
the
same.
real assets and personal assets were the same for those 2 years.
Okay. And for the years 2021 to 2022, the personal assets are exactly the same. Tama po ba? 20
Please show the matrix.
23,849,950 personal assets. Tama po na pareho. Eksakto.
That is 2021 and 2022 personal assets.
Your Honor, reading from the 2021 and 2022 submitted SALNs of the Vice Presidents, we can confirm that for the personal properties declared therein, it's the same amount po.
Okay. Thank you. So, again, and of course, yung sa real assets in the years 2009 to 2011, pareho, no? And also for 2016 and to
2009 to 2011
Oh.
real assets. Closer to the microphone, Kong Tinyo.
Oo. Well, siguro, Madam Chair, thank you for the confirmation. So I just wanted to check whether tama yung matrix, no? So
Can we mark also 2009 to 2011 real assets? 10 million. Exactly the same as well. May we see confirmation from the OMB?
Give us a few seconds, Your Honor. Give us a few seconds, Your Honor.
Yes, please. 09, 10, and 11.
Your Honor, based on the 2009, 2010, and 2011 submitted SALNs of the Vice President, we can confirm that the declaration therein was stated as 10,802,668.65 for the 3 years.
That's
Okay.
the same, exactly the
Thank
same
you.
amount.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please flash the matrix, please. That's the 2009, 10, and 11 real assets. 10,802,668 pesos and 65 centavos. Exactly the same amount for 09, 10, and 11. Honorable Tino.
And for the sake of completeness, 2016, 2017 real assets, same.
2016 and 2017
Opo.
real assets. Matrix. So for the record, 2016 and 2017, based on the matrix, the amount is exactly the same. That's 30,548,891 pesos. May we request confirmation from the OMB?
Your Honor, basing from the 2016 and 2017 SALN of the Vice President, the real properties declared therein is at 30,548,891 for the 2016 and 2017
So
year.
you confirm?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Uh,
Honorable
th- th-
Dino?
Thank you for that. Just a few observations, Madam Chair.
Yes, you may proceed.
Opo. So I suppose for the real assets that can be explained, no, kasi mga lote ito. So perhaps from year to year hindi magbabago. As to the personal assets, I don't have a copy of all of the SALNs. Could the ombudsman maybe just name the the breakdown of the personal assets in particular that were declared by the Vice President? Kasi mas medyo gusto ko lang unawain bakit hindi nagbabago from year to year yung declaration of personal assets. Ma'am?
Your Honor, may I clarify kung anong year po ng SALN?
Okay. So for example, yung 2019 to 2020 and 2021 to 2022, pareho po kasi yung figures for personal assets for 2 years. So I'm just trying to further understand bakit hindi nagbago yon.
I don't think, Honorable Tino, that Attorney Bato is competent to answer your question.
No, as far as I know, there would be a breakdown of personal assets in the SALN, the entries.
Is there a breakdown? You can confine your answer to what appears in the SALN.
Your Honor, based on the SALN submitted by the Vice President, the personal properties were described therein. May description po.
So can you confirm if the personal properties enumerated in the two concerned calendar years are exactly the same? That's
Your-
20 and 21.
Yes. 19, 20, and 21, and 22.
Just to confirm, Your Honor, so we're speaking of the SALNs from 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022.
Yes.
Kindly flash the matrix. The question of Honorable Tino is whether there are changes in the properties, personal assets of the respondent which generated the total exact amount for 2019 and 20, and then for 2021 and 2022. Maybe 2019 and 20 first.
For the 2019 and 2020, Your Honor, based on the SALN submitted, we can confirm that the Vice President declared the same personal
Exactly the
properties.
same personal assets. How about
Could
21 and 22?
Could we ask what assets were declared?
If I'm allowed to read the personal properties
Yes, you may proceed.
of the Vice President declared in her 2019 and 2020 SALNs, these are the following: a vehicle van, vehicle declared as motorcycles, other personal properties, various items, other personal properties, various items, vehicle car, vehicle pickup, other personal properties.
Okay, and that's the same for both years?
Yes, Your Honor, we can confirm that it's the same for
Okay.
2019 and 2020.
Okay, so general po, mga various items, parang ganon. Okay,
Those were the items listed po dun sa
Okay.
kanyang SALN.
okay, thank you. Thank you. That will be all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Perhaps we can proceed to directing the COMSEC to call the Vice President. COMSEC, please.
May we know if the Vice President is present today? The respondent Vice President is not present today, Madam Chair.
Let it be placed on the record that the committee secretary called the Vice President in order that we will be providing her the opportunity to present her evidence or to raise clarificatory questions through the justice members. That is for the record. Now we proceed to our next resource person. We are requesting the representatives from the Ombudsman to stay because we anticipate that there are matters which might be raised as well with the Ombudsman. Our next resource person is the Anti-Money Laundering Council. The floor is now open for clarificatory questions of the justice members.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Sendanya is recognized.
Madam Chair, may I make a short manifestation?
Yes,
before
of course.
the start
You may
question
proceed.
hour? Thank you, Madam Chair. As the movement for the subpoena, both ad testificandum to the AMLAC, meron lang po akong isang maikling remarks. Higit isang dekada na pong naghihintay ang taong bayan na makita ang kabuang yaman ni VP Sara Duterte at ng kanyang pamilya. Kaya nga po noong nakaraang pulong tayo ay nag-move para maimbitahan ang AMLAC sa atin pong pulong ngayong araw na ito. Sa totoo lang, this should have never been kept a secret. A public servant's obligation sa konstitusyon at sa taong bayan ay maging bukas sa ating financial transactions and lifestyle. Kahapon po, personal ako na nag-deposit sa isa sa mga alleged bank accounts na nakapangalan kina VP Sara Duterte at ang kanyang ama na si former President Rodrigo Duterte. Taliwas po sa kanilang patuloy na pagtanggi, lumabas na active pa ang account. Nakapag-deposit po tayo ng 448 pesos doon sa isang account na ito. Ngayong impeachment, mas dumadami ang tanong na after we heard our resource persons, especially a resource person from the Ombudsman, very glaring po yung ilang taon na walang nakalagay na cash on hand at cash in bank ang Vice Presidente. Kung walang sikreto si VP Sara, sana nag-sign na siya dati pa ng waiver. Kung wala siyang kinakatakutan, edi sana nilapag na niya ang totoong laman ng bank account niya. Kung totoong kumakain lang sa karinderya ang tatay niya at government salary lang ang natatanggap nila, iniisip ko nga po, paano na-i-encash yung cheque, yung sweldo niya, saan dumadaan? Kung wala siyang cash in bank at saka po wala siyang cash on hand. Pero that's for another conversation. Kung wala po silang tinatago, di sana wala silang kaba na haharap sa committee ito. Hindi tayo parang tumatawag ng spirit of the glass every time isa-summon ang Vice President to refute the evidence. Sa pagpresenta po ng report ng AMLC, ang tanong po ng taong bayan, sana masagot na ang maraming matagal ng mga pressing questions. And I hope that the AMLC will be able to shed light on these very important issues. Dito pong nakaraang mga sessions, may mga baon akong Mary Grace Piatos. Pero ngayon po ang baon natin, yung maraming tanong ng taong bayan, at sana po masagot ito ng AMLAC. Salamat, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Sendanya.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, Madam Chair,
Honorable Chel Jokno.
as a movement as well of the subpoena that was issued to the AMLA, may I just make a brief manifestation?
You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Para magampanan po natin yung ating tungkulin na malaman kung meron probable cause o hindi dito sa impeachment case na ito, mahalaga talaga na makita natin yung ebidensya. Kaya po natin hinimok ang Committee on Justice na maglabas ng subpoena dito sa Anti-Money Laundering Council. Ito po ay talagang magiging imposible ang gawain natin ngayon kung hindi natin makita mismo galing sa AMLA kung ano yung hawak nilang records. Kaya this is, to me, one of the most crucial stages in our proceedings at the Committee on Justice. The evidence will speak for itself. Wala naman sa atin na magsasalita, kundi mismo ang records ng AMLA. And through this procedure, the money trail will lead us to the truth. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Joboy Aquino is recognized.
I would like to direct my clarificatory questions to the representative of AMLAC.
Attorney Buenaventura,
Is that Attorney Buenaventura?
the Executive Director of Anti-Money Laundering Council.
Okay. For the record, Attorney, the AMLA received a subpoena coming from this committee for the production of documents, records. Am I correct?
Yes, Madam Chair. We receive a copy of the subpoena.
Okay. Did you bring the subpoenaed documents today?
Yes, we have it with us. Is it possible for us to tender it, to transmit it now?
The committee secretariat is directed to approach Executive Director Buenaventura to receive the subpoenaed documents from the Anti-Money Laundering Council. The same will form part of the records of this proceeding. Honorable Joboy Aquino.
Madam Chair, may we ask that all the members be provided a copy of the report from
The COMSEC is directed to reproduce the documents and provide the same to the respondent vice president, the complainant, and all the justice members.
Madam Chair, the same
Honorable
request,
Adjong.
the same request is asked of the committee secretariat to provide the SALNs as we have already requested earlier, Mr. Chair. We still haven't gotten the
As far as the
copy of
SALNs is
SALNs.
concerned, I understand that we have directed the COMSEC already to provide the same to all the parties, including the justice members.
That is correct, Madam Chair. So we reiterate our request, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I continue?
You
Madam
may
Chair?
proceed, Honorable Joboy Aquino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attorney, I understand that you have a cover letter which describes the documents that you have submitted. For the record, please tell us about these documents.
Did you mention a cover letter? Do you confirm having submitted a cover letter among the documents?
Yes.
Yes. May we direct the
Yes,
COMSEC?
Madam Chair.
Please find this cover letter and flash this in the screen for the guidance of the justice members.
Attorney, can you please
Okay.
describe those
All right.
documents to us?
So we are submitting two sets of documents. Number one is the covered transaction reports and suspicious transaction reports from the years 2006 to 2025 as subpoenaed. And then the second set, which is Annex B, are the financial intelligence reports as well as investigation reports on Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio as well as her husband Manasseh Carpio as indicated in the subpoena.
Okay, Attorney, to be clear, did you only initiate these reports because of this impeachment?
No, Madam Chair, we have, and AMLC has always been in constant monitoring of all the transactions, and while we have generated a latest one, all the data have been as far as back as early years.
Okay? And kanino po ang mga accounts, ang mga nakasaan dito sa mga dokumento na dala ninyo?
Bali po, ito po ay mga accounts ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa kanyang individual or sole account. Kasama na rin po ang kanyang mga ka-joint account kasama ang kanyang pamilya o ibang tao o pati kanya ng asawa at kasama na rin po ang account ng kanyang asawa na si Manasseh Carpio at ang kanyang mga ka-joint account na kapamilya niya o ibang tao man.
Salamat po. Pinakauli na lang pong tanong. Sa simpleng tanong lang po, no, Attorney, makikita po ba rito sa mga dokumentong dala nyo kung meron mga perang pumasok o lumalabas dito sa mga accounts na to?
Maaari po. Maaari makita dahil yung pong report na covered transaction at suspicious transactions ay may makikita po tayo doon na mga transaksyon na maaring palabas at papasok po.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Keith Flores.
Madam Chair, medyo...
Is this a point of order?
Yes, point of order, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm concerned with where we are going right now. We will now be discussing from the statements of the AMLAC representative bank accounts. And I'm worried that the discussion might lead somewhere na pinagbabawal ng bank secrecy law. If that is the direction that the questions have been going and from the answers of the AMLAC. Are we not, in effect, violating the bank secrecy law, Madam Chair?
For the guidance of the members, before I recognize the Honorable De Lima, the subject matter of the subpoena issued by the Justice Committee are not bank records. Instead, it is AMLC report uncovered in suspicious transactions. Likewise, the person who is subpoenaed are not bank officials and employees. The person who is subpoenaed is, of course, no less than the head of the Anti-Money Laundering Council. For the record, the coverage of bank secrecy law and for the guidance of the members are bank officials and employees and bank records. And the chair is of the opinion that the subject matter of our subpoena is apparently not covered by the protection of the bank secrecy law. The Honorable De Lima is recognized.
Before the Honorable De Lima answers, Madam Chair, I just want to, from your statements po, well, it is true na, yun nga, hindi nga banks ang sinupina natin, hindi din bank employees ang sinupina natin. But parang yung, from the answers kasi kanina, it would deal with certain bank accounts already, Madam Chair. So wouldn't that in effect be parang circumventing also the bank secrecy law?
We note the observation of the Honorable Keith Flores. Nonetheless, we are strictly compliant with the letters of the bank secrecy law. The Honorable De Lima is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tama po yung sinabi ng ating Chair na hindi po tayo sakop ng prohibition. Yes, meron ho tayong Secrecy of Bank Deposits Law na sinasabing sikreto, confidential, yung mga bank deposits, pero hindi po naman yan absolute rule na wala na siyang exception. Ang exception dyan, isa sa mga exception na yung cases of impeachment. Pero bago po ako to dwell on that, ay tungkol naman po dun sa sinasabing pwedeng may prohibition. Kasi nakalagay po sa Section 3 of the law itself.
Louder,
Republic
Honorable
Act,
De Lima, louder.
Republic Act number 1405 or the Secrecy of Bank Deposits Law, it is explicit. It applies only to officials and employees of banking institutions. Nakasabi po sa Section 3, it shall be unlawful for any official or employee of a banking institution to disclose to any person other than those mentioned in Section 2 hereof any information concerning said deposits. So, ang pinasabina po, kagaya nung sinabi ng ating chair, ay yung AMLAC, AMLC. At hindi po bangko, at hindi po mismong bank accounts ang pinasabina natin. Ang pinasabina po natin ay yung record, if any, of suspicious or covered transactions. And let's note also na meron na rin tayo yung batas na Anti-Money Laundering Act o Republic Act number 9160. it further reinforces the position na wala tayong violation dito na nagaganap. It embodies the state's more recent and more specific policy that financial secrecy cannot be used to conceal unlawful activity. Sabi po sa batas na yan, Anti-Money Laundering Act, covered institutions, lalo na yung mga bangko, most notably the banks, are required to report suspicious transactions to the AMLC, and such reporting is expressly declared as not violative of the Bank Deposit Secrecy Law. Hindi po siya violative. So ang pinaproduce po natin based on the subpoena ay yung any record of suspicious or covered transactions affecting nga po si VP Sara. At nasabi po ng ating Executive Director ng AMLC na ang daladala niya ay precisely dalawang klase ng dokumento. Yung reports mismo on suspected or covered transactions sa mga accounts ni VP Sara, either singly, siya lang, o jointly. Meron siyang mga ka-joint account sa ibang tao, katulad ng kanyang asawa, katulad ng kanyang ama, katulad ng ibang miyembro pa ng kanyang pamilya. At ang pangalawa ay financial intel reports. At sako po yan ng mandato. Kaya nga, rini-require yung pag-submit ng mga transactions na yan para i-report kung covered ang transactions at dinidetermine kung suspicious, kung may mga red flags yung mga transactions na yan na pwede makapagsabi na meron ditong gumagamit ng pera sa illegal o kaya sa money laundering. So I submit, Madam Chair, and going back, by the way, to I almost forgot, yung exception po yung cases of impeachment dyan sa Bank Secrecy Deposit Law. Cases of impeachment. So sako po tayo dito. Kasi remember, the impeachment proceedings have been initiated already by the acts of the filing of the complaint and the referral of those multiple complaints, the original four complaints sa Justice Committee. And that initiated the impeachment proceedings. And so there is now a case of impeachment. The exception does not say in case of impeachment trial in the Senate. It says it's broader, it's more encompassing. In cases of impeachment. Yung nagaganap po sa atin ngayon, ito po ay impeachment proceedings na validly initiated complaints because they were referred and acted upon by the Committee on Justice. For those reasons, Madam Chair, ang aking pong firm position, wala po tayong linalabag na batas dito, lalo na yung Bank Secrecy Deposit Law or Republic Act 1405, 36 years later, ay meron ng amendment yung Anti-Money Laundering Act or the Republic Act number 9160. Maraming salamat po.
Madam Chair. May I be
The Honorable
recognized?
Jokno,
Madam
and
Chair.
then the Honorable Marcoleta, and then the Honorable Ko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Napakalinaw po ng Bank Secrecy Law. May exception po siya para sa impeachment. Pero tanungin natin, bakit ba? And I think the reason is very clear as well. We cannot use the Bank Secrecy Law as a shield to allow public officials to hide behind. Klarong-klaro po ang pinag-uusapan natin sa isang impeachment case ay pananagutan. At kailangan maging transparent ang lahat ng mga public officials. Public office is a public trust. That's why it's very clear to me that this is not one of those cases where we cannot inquire into those deposits. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable Marcoleta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to manifest to clarify for the record whether this committee may require submission of AMLC records without a court order. Under the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001, suspicious transaction reports and covert transaction reports are confidential and may only be disclosed upon order of a court. Maliwanag po na wala pong clear statutory authority allowing disclosure of AMLC data to a congressional committee without judicial authorization, notwithstanding subpoena powers as guided by Sabio versus Gordon. For the record, I respectfully seek clarification of the committee regarding this matter. And if I may also cite, Madam Chair, the Anti-Money Laundering Act provides the state with the means to investigate suspicious financial transactions within a framework of judicial supervision. The Anti-Money Laundering Council is authorized to inquire into bank deposits even without the prohibition within the bank secrecy law, provided that the court order is issued by the courts. At may tanong din po ako. I will just paraphrase it into a manifestation since I'm not allowed to raise questions. I take it to mean na pag suspicious yung transaction, ibig bang sabihin na ito ay illegal na or unlawful na? Para kasing ganun lumalabas. Pag ito ay tinag na suspicious, agad-agad itong piniprejudge na as if it's an illegal or unlawful transaction. I want to be clarified on that, Madam Chair.
That
Thank
is
you.
a manifestation which does not require any answer. The Honorable Ko is
May
recognized.
I ask, ma'am, why does it not require an answer?
Because you are not a member of the Justice Committee, and
It
therefore,
was paraphrased, ma'am, into a manifestation.
and that is why answer is not required. It is just a manifestation. If I require an answer, then I'm allowing you already to raise a clarificatory question. As simple as that. The Honorable Ko is recognized.
My point is, madam, it's pag sinabi bang suspicious account o suspicious transaction, ito ay nangangulugan na ito ay agad unlawful or illegal.
That is your manifestation. We end there. Honorable Ko is recognized.
And the Filipino people heard my manifestation.
Chair.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to also manifest my agreement to the discussions on the applicability of the proceedings here and the authority of the House Committee on Justice to subpoena existing government records supposedly in possession of the Anti-Money Laundering Council in aid of the investigation for probable cause being done validly by the House Committee on Justice. Now, I'd also like to second the manifestation that the exception as provided in the bank secrecy law, while the position of the committee and the chair ay hindi naman applicable kasi ang nandoon at ang covered nun ay bank employees, nonetheless, there is a textual exception doon says, quote-unquote, in cases of impeachment. And may standing question kasi na dapat mag-apply lang tong exception na to sa Senate kasi yun na yung quote-unquote case of impeachment. Pero the 1987 Constitution is clear. Under Section 3, Article 11, the House of Representatives shall have the exclusive power to initiate all cases of impeachment. So what we're doing now is under the coverage of cases of impeachment. So clear naman po yung pagka-fit ng words ng 1987 Constitution and the Bank Secrecy Law. And siguro, Madam Chair, I'd also just like to raise a general comment for the benefit of the public and not specifically to answer any specific comment by members, but also para ma-enlighten yung public. Yung nakalagay po sa Section 11, na quote-unquote bank inquiry power requiring a court order, hindi naman po nakalimit doon yung kakayahan ng AMLC to produce documents. Lalo na if the AMLC reports or information is already in possession of AMLC prior to the starting of the impeachment proceedings, as confirmed by AMLC earlier. Any reports of transactions, hawak na nila. And under the valid processes of this government agency, kinakausap yung kapwa government agency na i-produce yung information na hawak nila, rumirespondi po sila accordingly. May lawful authority po ang government agency na ito na gawin yon, i-ask yun from a different government agency. So yun po, fully covered yung lahat pong ginagawa ng House Committee on Justice on these impeachment proceedings. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Now, can we proceed to the report of AMLC?
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Adjong is recognized.
Madam Chair, if Congressman Joboy Aquino is done with his questioning, I'd like to ask AMLC.
Honorable Joboy Aquino, are you done with your
Yes,
clarificatory questions?
Finally, I'm done.
Yes,
Madam
so
Chair.
we can now proceed to Honorable Adjong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Magandang hapon na po. Magandang hapon po sa atin lahat. I'd like to direct my questions to AMLAC. Brad, magandang hapon. Your position as Executive Director of AMLC is not an ordinary opinion, no? It's actually created and governed by a certain law. Can you confirm to me that this law is the RA 9160?
Yes, Madam Chair, it is governed by the Anti-Money Laundering Act, which is RA 9160 as amended.
Thank you. And Section 8 of that law mandates, the law that mandates your position demands a certain qualifications, no? Just to be brief about it, I would like to enumerate to you the qualifications by which you are entitled or you are allowed or qualified at least to hold that position that you're occupying right now. Number one is you must be a lawyer, at least 35 years old with it. You have of course, unquestionable integrity and possess at least 5 years of experience in financial regulatory institutions like the BSP, Securities and Exchange Commission, or any insurance commission. In your professional view, Madam Chair, Executive Director, bakit kinakailangan mag-set ng ganitong klaseng standards for an Executive Director of AMLC?
I may not answer in a of my professional view, but I can offer my personal view.
Yeah.
And that is the position of the Executive Director in the leadership of the Anti-Money Laundering Council Secretariat requires technical proficiency as well as, and most importantly, I think, the ability to ensure impartiality and to act independently. We are navigating, or the work of the AMLC navigates a lot of complex financial structures, financial systems, and it is our duty to make sure that we are always impartial in the things that we do.
Okay, very good. So, ibig sabihin, the work that your position demands would have to, that you have to have a deep understanding, no, of, sabi mo nga, of complex financial systems, no, and a high level of probity to handle sensitive information impartially. Tama ba?
Yes.
That you are, you said, you mentioned earlier that you have to work independently. Does that also mean that you have to be impartial?
Yes.
When doing your work. Tama po ba?
Yes, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Para po for the benefit of the public, because Madam Chair, I'm sure a lot of our kababayan now are watching, no? Marami kanina, I was listening to the exchanges of some of my colleagues here, and Representative Laila De Lima mentioned the phrase money laundering, no? Parati ho natin ito naririnig, Madam Chair, no? In simple terms, no, for the benefit of our ordinary kababayan, ano ba ibig sabihin ng money laundering? Kasi you can be technical in your explanation, or you can be, sabi nga ni Congressman Garin, laymanize it.
Honorable Adjong is just requesting for an explanation as to the nature of money laundering as an offense.
Yeah. Money laundering, Mr. Chair, because my questions is premised on the mandate of the AMLC, so that we can fully understand.
For the benefit of the viewing public.
Yeah. That's correct, Madam Chair. So,
To put it simply, money laundering is a process whereby proceeds from illegal activities are concealed or cleaned and make them appear as coming from legitimate activities. So the term itself is laundering or cleaning of dirty money, and hence we have that term money laundering.
So ibig sabihin, Madam Chair, kung I will attempt to translate it into Tagalog. Hindi po ako Tagalog, Maranao po ako, pero ito po yung pagkaintindi ko based on your explanation. Ibig sabihin, yung mga possible na pumapasok halimbawa na pera na hindi sa mabuti o sa illegal ang source ay, kumbaga, ano yung launder sa Tagalog? Nilalaba, no? Nilalaba, tama ba? I beg the indulgence of the committee. Nilalabahan para it would appear as if nasa yung source ng pera na ito ay nasa illegal at tamang sources. Tama po ba yung aking pag-interpret or pag-translate into Tagalog?
Agree po ako. Tama po. Ang layunin po ng paglaban sa money laundering ay maiwasan na itong mga pera na galing sa illegal ay maitago sa otoridad o maipakita na galing di umano sa malinis sa paraan when sa totoo hindi naman talaga.
Okay. Earlier, Madam Chair, I was listening also to some of the comments of our colleagues, and they mentioned certain phrases, like for example, red flag indicators. Kanina, I was also listening to the exchanges between Congressman Flores and Congresswoman De Lima. Is it correct, Madam Chair, ED, that ang mandato po ng AMLC ay hindi lamang basta tumingin sa mga bank accounts, kundi mag-analyze na rin, no? Mag-analyze na rin ng mga yung tinatawag na red flag indicators o yung mga kahina-hinalang transaction, no? As you have explained to us earlier, na posible may pumapasok na hindi sa tamang hinahide, no? Or ang tawag na hinahide, yung tinatago na galing sa hindi illegal na sources at ito'y pretending to be nilalabahan o minalilaunder, no, para ipakita tama. So the only way for you to do that is there also for you to analyze certain inflow of money, no, in certain bank accounts that would tend to make you realize, based on your assessment, that this might also cover or indicate some red flag indicators. Tama po ba?
Tama po. Nabanggit niyo po yung mandato ng AMLC and ang mandato po niya ay panatilihin ang integridad ng financial system natin, na dapat malinis ang financial system natin. At isa sa pinakamahalaga, o hindi man pinakamahalaga sa gawain namin ng AMLC ay ang mag-analyze ng mga transactions at aksyonan kung ano man ang makita tungkol dito.
Okay, so when you do the analyzation of the red flag indicators, kasi mayroon din kayong sinasabing, may terms na sinasabi na covert transaction and yung sinasabi nating suspicious transactions. And this is by way of analyzing yung sinasabing kung may red flag indicators ba at kung wala, no? So can you, for the benefit again of this committee and perhaps the general public, can you try to define ano po yung pagkakaibahan pag sinabi mong covert transaction at saka sinasabi mong suspicious transactions?
Am I allowed to speak na lang po in Filipino sa mas madali po maipaliwanag?
Mas maganda magpaliwanag ka na lang. Ako, hindi nga ako Tagalog, pero nagtatagalog ako para maintindihan ng ating taong bayan. So, feel free to explain it in Filipino. Madam Chair.
Yung covert transaction po, sa konteksto ng financial institutions or particularly for banks, ito ay ang transaction na mahigit sa 500,000 piso or 500,000 sa loob ng isang araw. Automatic po itong nire-report ng mga bangko sa AMLC. Yun naman pong suspicious transactions ay mga transaksyon na wala namang halaga o hindi kailangan na may na mataas o mababa sa particular na halaga, so kahit anong halaga siya, pero ang bangko ay may nakikita na kaduda-duda or may nakita siya na kahina-hinala or parang kakaibang red flag doon sa galaw ng transaksyon na yon, sa account na yon. kapag ganun po, nire-report din siya sa amin.
So mayroong hindi kumbaga hindi malinaw or naligal na basihan, no? O kahina-hinala yung flow nung pumapasok at lumalabas na pera, tama po ba?
Apo, so halimbawa po
Yun
niyan.
po yung sinasabi nating suspicious
Yes po.
transaction, tama. Yeah, would you like to further explain?
Opo, magbigay lang ako ng halimbawa kasi sa Section 3 ng batas, mayroong mga enumeration po doon. Isa doon ay kapag meron kang pumapasok o lumalabas na pera sa account mo, pero hindi malinaw kung ano ang pinanggalingan or saan nanggaling.
Okay. So when you do the analyzation, para ma-determine nyo whether this transaction covers yung sinasabing suspicious transaction, do you analyze it based on certain personalities? Halimbawa, na involved doon sa, let's say, in certain bank deposits? Do you rely on personality or do you simply just analyze these transactions based on, based on the inflow of the money and the outflow of the money, based on the data and the number of the transactions involved?
So, hindi po kami namimili ng personality. Ang tinitignan po namin dito ay yung data at yung numbers. So, ang titignan namin more than the people behind is ano ba yung movement, flow, frequency nung daloy ng pera at kung meron bang kakaiba dito sa daloy na to. So, hinahabol po namin yung pera, hindi yung tao sa likod ng pera.
So makatwid, you do not bother yourself with personality, no? Who may be involved in this suspicious transaction na sinasabi mo, whether the account is an account of a high-ranking official or a clergyman or anybody for that matter, no? Hindi kayo doon nagbabase doon sa kung sino yung holder ng bank account na ito, but rather you are actually following the inflow and outflow of these transactions, particularly the bank deposits in the outflow of this money, that actually has a certain, that gives you question that this has no legal basis whatsoever, and this could probably be part of the suspicious transaction kasi walang ma-explain na po pwedeng pagkunan. Tama po ba?
Tama po. We apply our processes uniformly. Hindi po kami tumitingin sa personality or sa kung sino man. Ang tinitingnan lang namin dito is, meron bang kakaiba dito na dapat pagtuunan pa ng investigasyon?
So you don't direct actually your examination based on a certain political direction, but you follow where the money trails, where it will direct you. Tama ba?
Tama po yun.
Okay. So ibig sabihin, Madam Chair, it is very clear to say that your participation here does not dictate any political consideration, no? But you are actually here by virtue of the invitation of the committee, would also like to, explain to the committee some certain transactions that are in question that are covered by the complaints filed before the Committee on Justice. Would that be correct?
Tama po. Tama po.
Okay, sige. So, very clear po, Madam Chair, just to lay the premise na baka itong hearing natin na ito is just we are dealing with certain personality kasi ang respondent natin, ang Vice Presidente, ay baka sabihin ng iba na we are doing this precisely to direct towards a political objective, no? But based on the explanation of AMLA, with their participation in this committee, they are not, number one, they are not confined with, boxing their investigation whenever there's a suspicious transactions on personality, whether it's high-ranking or whether anybody, for as long as that number covers or that number determines a certain suspicious transaction, AMLA would really dig into the matter. Tama pa po yun?
Tama po.
Ang aking analysis. Okay,
Babase
so-
lang po kami sa evidence po. At
Okay,
saka kung
based
ano
on
yung
the
nasa
evidence,
records.
tama.
Opo.
So, Madam Chair, finally, for my last question, no, kung wala po kayong nakitang anomalya o red flag sa inyong opisina, wala po sana kayo dito, no? Tama po, as you have indicated earlier. Ang inyong pagpunta po dito at pagsumite ng mga dokumento ay patunay na may red flag indicators. Would that be correct?
Meron pong mga
Red flag indicators.
STR, CTR.
And the documents that were subpoenaed by this committee ay meron pong mga red flag indicators. As you have explained earlier, no? Na yung transaction is very suspicious, no? Yun nga, would you confirm also that these red flag indicators covers now the respondents that we are being that is now being heard by this committee?
Tama po.
Tama. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other member who wish to
Madam
raise
Chair.
clarificatory questions?
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Suntay and then the Honorable Marcoleta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the AMLA, may I know what are the instances when the AMLC can provide or inquire into bank deposits? What are the instances?
I think they do not inquire. Reports are being
Because under
submitted to
Republic
them.
Act, Madam Chair, under Republic Act number 9160, the Anti-Money Laundering Council has significant authority under the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Now, there are two instances when they can inquire into bank deposits. One is with court order, and the second without court order. So with court order, when can this be done? Now, with court order, when the AMLC can inquire into deposits if there is probable cause.
May
that
I
the funds are
confirm
related to
from
unlawful
AMLA first
activity.
if the subpoenaed documents are consequences of your bank inquiry, or these were received by way of reporting of the banks or other financial companies in relation to the implementation of AMLA?
Madam Chair, I confirm that these documents are based on the CTRs and STRs, and these are the subject of the subpoena that we have submitted.
These are generated because of the reports
Yes, Madam Chair.
submitted by the banks.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And bank inquiry, which is being contemplated by the Honorable Suntay, is different from the reports which are being submitted.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
So, Honorable Suntay, if this has reference to the subject matter of the impeachment, I hope we can confine our questions to what appears in the subpoenaed documents.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is related to what has been subpoenaed, because what has been subpoenaed would be presented by.
Yes, but these
the
are
AMLA.
not these
That's
are
why
not consequences
I'm
of
inquiring,
bank
Madam
inquiry.
Chair. I'm inquiring when they could submit such things, such documents.
Let me just
But in what
clarify,
instances?
Honorable Suntay, for the guidance of the justice members, the subpoenaed documents are generated from the reports of the banks. These are not consequences of the bank inquiry conducted by the AMLC. That is for the record.
And to Madam Chair.
Yes, Madam Chair, but the bank records, if you see that, if you read the complaints, both complaints which was filed, it did not specifically state what was in the bank. In fact, in the bank account, there were
As
no
a matter of fact,
specificity.
Honorable
So,
Suntay, the subject matter of the subpoena are not bank records. This is AMLC report. Please make a distinction between the two.
yes, Madam Chair, but what will AMLC report on? Wouldn't it be what is contained in the bank accounts?
Can you just describe based on what has been reported by the bank? Because I understand that with or without order, the banks voluntarily report to you
That is correct, Madam Chair.
if there are covered and suspicious transactions. So
Madam-
just limit your answer to what is contained in your report.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Sige, can you go on?
Madam, sir, Mr.
Can you restate your question?
Now, we have called AMLC to, because we would like to inquire what the banks has
These are
reported to
covered
them.
transactions and
The
suspicious
covered
transactions as
suspicious
described earlier.
transactions. So, to determine what is a suspicious transaction, who determines it? AMLA or the bank?
The banks.
The bank. And they submit accounts.
That is
What
voluntary
is
submission.
contained in the accounts. Is that correct?
Reports of the transactions, not necessarily just the account. So sometimes there is no account yet, but they do submit if there is anything anomalous with the transaction. So it doesn't necessarily involve an account.
Okay.
But it may
So
involve an
when
account.
is an account considered anomalous?
Wait, account is not a subject matter of the subpoena. The subject matter of the subpoena are covered transaction and suspicious transaction.
Okay. Then when
Honorable
is a
Suntay, please be
transaction
reminded
considered?
to limit your
Madam
questions
Chair,
to the
yes.
subject matter of the
When is a
subpoena.
transaction considered anomalous?
Suspicious.
Please use the term covered or suspicious. Because that is
Covered
the
or
subject
suspicious?
matter of our
Okay,
subpoena.
madam. Covered or suspicious?
Under Section 3 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act, there is a definition of what constitutes suspicious transactions. Number one is if there is no underlying legal or trade obligation. Number two is if there is no economic, the client is not properly identified. Number three is if the amount involved is not commensurate to the business or the financial capacity of the client. And the next would be taking into account all the circumstances. There is a perceived transaction, the perceived transaction of the client is being structured. Number five is if there is an unlawful activity, if the client committed an unlawful activity or is in any way related to money laundering. Number six is if there's a deviation, observed deviation from the acts of the or behavior of the client's profile. And number seven is any other analogous transactions similar to the those enumerated.
Okay.